The snowstorm had not stopped for 5 days. It covered the desolate moon, Arat 7, in a thick white blanket. The wind howled across the black cliffs like a beast, tearing at anything that dared to move. Nothing lived on this moon anymore. The old mining stations were gone. The last supply ships had left years ago, and now only the ice remained. But deep under a jagged volcanic vent, life still clung stubbornly to survival. The dragon lay in the hollow of a cavern, her large body curled tightly around a single glowing egg. Her scales, once bright like polished steel, were dull now. Her wings, strong and graceful in better days, were torn and folded like broken sails. The wound in her hind leg was still open, the blood frozen around it. Every breath came out as thin smoke. Her name was Rizura. She had once been a proud hunter of the great clans, her wings filling the skies of the outer worlds. But her life had changed the moment she laid her egg out of season. Dragons only laid eggs during the sacred time of twin dawn, when the two suns rose together in the spring. That was the law. But Rizra's body had burned with life during the long freeze, and she had obeyed it. For this crime, the clans had stripped her rank, shattered her horns, and called her cursed. They told her that her egg would bring disaster to them all. Then, they drove her from their territory, leaving her to die at the edge of the galaxy. Now, she hid in this dark cavern with only her egg. She was tired and wounded, but she would not abandon it. Her claws gently touched the smooth shell. It was warm, but weaker each day. She knew the glow inside was fading, and she could do nothing but keep it close and pray. Far away, across the frozen surface, a small survival pod crashed into the snow. The impact was so hard that the metal shell split apart and fire spilled into the white storm. From the wreckage, a man crawled out, gasping for air. His name was Han J-Wu. He was a ship mechanic from the outer ring freighter, Darian's Grace. He had not meant to come to Aerith 7. No one came here anymore, but a meteor shard had ripped through his ship's hull to Sector's back, and he had been forced to eject. His distress beacon was broken, and the cold was eating through his suit. Han stumbled through the storm for hours. He had no map, only the jagged cliffs in front of him and the instinct to keep walking. He clutched the last pieces of his survival pack tightly against his chest. His lips were blue, his body numb. He knew if he stopped, he would freeze to death. That was when he saw it. Steam was rising from a crack in the cliffs. He slid down into the fissure, slipping on the slick rocks, until he reached a hollow cavern, glowing with faint red light. From the geothermal vents, he collapsed on the warm stone floor, breathing hard. For the first time in days, he felt life returning to his hands and feet. Then he saw her. A dragon, massive and terrifying, lay in the center of the cavern. She was curled around a glowing egg. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing red in the darkness. Leave. The word thundered inside his head like a command. Con jerked back, nearly falling. His hands came up slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said with a dry voice. I just need shelter. Please." The dragon's lips pulled back, showing teeth as long as his arms. Her growl shook the walls. "You are human." "Yes," Han whispered. "My ship crashed. My name is Han J-Wu. I'm a mechanic. I just need a place to stay warm until I can figure out what to do." Rizora stared at him for a long time. She could smell the fear in him. Yet he did not run. "Leave," she said again, but weaker this time. Han's eyes moved down and caught the sight of her leg. The wound was deep and ugly. Then, he looked at the egg. The glow inside was weak and flickering. He hesitated, then took a step closer. "You're hurt," he said softly. "It does not matter." "Yes, it does," he said. "If you want to live, it matters." Rizura hissed and shifted her claws, but she did not strike. Han crouched slowly, opening his survival kit on the far side of the cavern. He began to set up the broken pieces of his portable heater. The device was barely working, but he placed it so the heat would fill the space without threatening the dragon. He spoke as he worked, not sure if she would even listen. "You know," he said quietly, "I once repaired a Genesis-class heat core. That thing was ready to blow and take half the station with it. It was the hardest job of my life, but I did it." Rizora said nothing. "You're bleeding," Han said after a moment. "Your wound is going to attract predators. Let me help you." The dragon's head tilted, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "Why help me, human?" Han stopped working and looked straight at her. "I don't know," he said finally. His gaze shifted to the egg resting under her claws. He could see the faint movement. Inside, the fragile heartbeat. "You're a mother. That's reason enough." Rizra stared at him in silence. For the first time in many days, the cave was completely still, except for the sound of the storm outside. Han Jae-woo did not leave the cavern. Each day, he worked quietly near the edge, speaking softly while he repaired his broken heater and checked the equipment from his survival kit. The dragon Rizura kept her glowing eyes on him the whole time, but she no longer pushed him away. He could see that her wound was getting worse. The blood had dried, but the infection was spreading. One evening, when the storm outside screamed like a living thing, Han stood a few feet from her massive form and said, "You need help. That cut is dangerous. Let me clean it." Rizura shifted her wings, unsure. She was proud, and humans were strangers to her kind, but she was tired. Finally, she lowered her head and turned her injured leg toward him. Han knelt and cleaned the wound with sterilized foam. His hands were steady, though inside his heart raced. He had never touched a dragon before. Her scales were cold and rough. She flinched when he pressed a needle against her skin, but she did not strike. As he worked, he talked. "I used to fix freighters on Jerim Station," he said. "Ships came from all across the outer ring. Some were huge, some were falling apart. People used to tell me I could fix anything. But I've never fixed a dragon before." Rizura did not answer, but her breathing slowed. Days passed. He repaired her wounds slowly, but the real danger was the egg. Its glow was getting dimmer with each night. One evening, Rizra's voice came into his mind, quieter than before. "It is dying." Han touched the egg gently. The shell was cold. He could feel the faint heartbeat inside, weak and fragile. "Then we have to do something," he said. "I cannot. My body is weak. The fire is gone." "No," Han said firmly. "We'll save it. I'll build something." He began to work. He used the coils from his portable heater, stripped wires from his survival kit, and even pulled the battery cell from the wreckage of his pod. Piece by piece, he built a crude incubator. It was small and ugly, but it worked. He placed the egg in the device. The heat wrapped around it, and almost at once, the glow became a little brighter. Han exhaled with relief. "There," he said softly. "It's working." Rizra lowered her head and stared at the human. For the first time, there was no anger or fear in her gaze, only something warmer. Something she had not felt since the day the clans cast her out. "Why are you doing this, Han Jae-woo?" He looked at the egg, then back at her. "Because you're a mother," he said, "and mothers deserve a chance." They waited together. The storm outside continued for days. Han spoke less and less, as his energy ran out, but he never left the egg's side. Rizra curled around them, her wings shielding them from the bitter air. On the 7th day, it happened. A faint cracking sound filled the cavern. Han looked up in shock. "It's hatching," he whispered. The egg split slowly. Small claws pushed from inside. Then the shell broke apart, and a tiny dragon hatchling crawled out. Its scales were soft and shimmering. Its wings were small and clumsy. It chirped weakly, making a sound so soft that Han almost cried. Riz lowered her head and touched her snout gently against her child. A deep hum filled the cavern. Han sat back and smiled. "You did it," he whispered. "We did it," Rizra answered, her voice strong again. For many days after, Han stayed with them. He repaired the last tears in Rizra's wings, and kept the hatchling warm. The little dragon would toddle around the cavern, bumping into Han's legs, chirping happily. Han would laugh and scratch gently behind its neck spines until it spit tiny sparks of fire. Rizra would growl softly at him, but she never stopped him. Then one morning, a noise came from above. Engines. Han froze. He ran to the entrance of the cavern and saw the glow of ships cutting through the snowstorm. A patrol ship from the outer rings. Somehow, it had picked up the faint signal from his broken beacon. Finally, he whispered, but then fear gripped him. They would see the dragon. Moments later, soldiers in heavy armor poured into the cavern with weapons raised. "Step aside, human," one of them shouted. "That's a dragon, we'll handle it." Han jumped in front of Rizra and the hatchling. "No, she's not a threat," he shouted. "She's a mother. She's hurt, and she has a child. She's not your enemy." The hatchling squeaked and hid under Rizra's tail. The soldiers hesitated, unsure. Han's voice rose. "If you fire, you'll have to fire through me first. Humanity can be better than this. We don't have to kill everything we fear." The leader of the soldiers stared at him. Slowly, the weapons lowered. Han turned to Rizra and met her glowing red eyes. "Go," he whispered. "You and your child can be free now." Rizra stepped forward, her wings unfolding with new strength. She looked at Han for a long moment. "You will not be forgotten, Han Jae-woo. Your name will be carried by the winds of my kin." Then, with a single beat of her great wings, she and the hatchling rose into the stormy sky. Han stood at the cavern's mouth, snow whipping around him, and for the first time since his crash, he smiled. Because sometimes, humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or ships, it was in compassion.